What up, Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, and welcome everybody to this video of the SDA Week 1, where this week we're going to be taking on Willow and the Will-O-Wisps, a fantastic team name, might I add. Now, you might be wondering, why does it look like it's a video? Why does it say broken down in here in the corner? Well, long story short, this is one of 3 videos that I ended up recording this week where the audio was not working. I ended up recording 8 battles this last week because I'm going to be out of town this week. I'm actually recording this the night before I leave, and I still have to pack. So, and it is 10:30, so this is going to be a pretty quick video. I think I'm not going to spend too much time going into details of everything, but I do want to just talk about this video and, yeah, post commentary, and I will be all over the place. I apologize. But anyways, here are the teams. Whap! Overall, a very, very interesting team by my opponent. Very, very bulky, very, very annoying with a lot of annoying Pokemon, or at least stereotypically annoying Pokemon. Now, I will say, I do think I have a pretty good matchup into this team. Going into this, I felt fairly confident with this team, with, like, my Pokemon in general. Because while there are a lot of walls, there's like King Gambit, there's Salazzle, like there's a lot of Pokemon that can really take advantage of just everything and just hammer home on my opponent's team if I play right. So, I'm expecting like Slowkings, definitely Skeledirge, probably Wo-Chien, it's probably Toxapex, probably we could see Gardevoir. I'm definitely expecting Gliscor when I have a Salazzle on my team. So that's kind of what I'm thinking going into this. Anyways, yeah, I guess without any further ado, let's go ahead and head into the team preview. So here are the teams: Mandibuzz, Wo-Chien, Skeledirge, Forretress, the Hisuian Goodra, and the Galarian Slowking. Immediately, I am so shocked not to see anything regarding the, the Gliscor. So I'm going to go ahead and lead White-Hot the Salazzle with the Payapa Berry, specifically for the Galarian Slowking, just in case it leaves, just because I can either A, fire off a very free Toxic, or B, fire off an Overheat versus Forretress. So this is an absolutely phenomenal situation for me. I'm just going to be spamming Toxic turn 1, so yeah, let's go ahead and head into the battle. So, here's my opponent's card. I commented on the little ball of yarn tarantula. I thought it was very adorable. So, yes. Immediately here we see bulkier, which is the Hisuian Goodra. Overall, a fantastic lead for me. Even if it has Earthquake, I literally do not care. I am just Toxicking this thing. Getting a Toxic off on this thing is just very valuable. Getting a Toxic off on anything is extremely valuable. The team will be linked in the Pokepaste down in the description below, so definitely check that out. Hopefully I remember to actually put it in the description, because if I don't, oofy boobies, I apologize. I will get it up as soon as I get back home. But anyways, let's go ahead and see what happens. So I do land the Poison, which is obviously very nice, and my opponent ends up just going for the small Thunderbolt, probably thinking I might be switching out, predicting an Earthquake, so they were thinking maybe I would go into like Cryogonal or something like that. I did not though, but here I am thinking about switching out, because now that I've Toxic this thing, I now see, okay, I can go ahead and swap out here, and I end up going into Nuriev, the Weirdeer, which to all my Valet nerds out there, you know that reference. If you don't know that reference, which is probably nobody, but it's fine, don't worry about it. We do also find out that this thing is Assault Vest, which is very good information. Unfortunately, Weirdeer does not like that it's Assault Vest, because I'm running a Calm Mind set this week with the leftovers, but at least we can tank hits for days. So here I just go for an Earth Power as my opponent ends up switching out. I'm also going to try to speak as much as I can without having to cut, so forgive me for doing that in advance. We do see Mandibuzz come in, and it's about here that this is that I realize a pretty rough team building error on my end, is that I have nothing to touch this thing. This was very much a bit of an error for me. I definitely should have prepped a bit more for Mandibuzz, especially with my Weirdeer. I should have packed Thunderbolt. It is what it is. Lessons learned, but I do realize that here, as I am forced to switch into King Gambit, as Mandibuzz can pretty freely go for a knockoff here, which knocks off my Lumberry. That's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, heck, that was a critical hit, by the way. And it did that little damage, like holy crap. Here I end up going for a Taunt, if I remember correctly, just because I am scared of this thing going for an Iron Defense. I believe I clicked Taunt here, if I remember correctly. And as I click my move, Mandibuzz ends up switching out, and they go into, if I remember correctly, they go into Wo-Chien. They do go into Wo-Chien, and I do click Taunt. So now this thing is Taunt locked. It can't do any Leech Seed shenanigans or anything like that. No Strength Sap, no nothing. So this does force my swap, unfortunately, and I have to really debate about what I want to switch in here, because Wo-chan is a Terra Captain, and it is a very powerful Terra Captain at that. So I do have to be very careful with what I switch in here. I believe, if I remember correctly, I switch in Cryo Freeze. Yes, I do, because we end up taking a body press, and it hurts. It really freaking hurt, brother. One weakness on my team is that I am pretty weak to fighting type attacks. It is what it is, but I was hopeful that they wouldn't go for that, and they did go for that, and it was a little bit of a throw on my end. So now I have to think about what I want to switch in. I could switch into my Ghost type, the Cheese Dragapult, but I do have to risk a Dark type attack now coming in. So I have to risk a knockoff, which I believe we end up seeing here. Yes, we do, but we do live on 6 HP. We do go for the Freeze Dry, doing a little bit of chip damage, which is obviously very nice. And by a little bit, I mean quite a decent amount. And we do see a knockoff here, which does a crap ton of damage and is a bit unfortunate. And we do lose our heavy duty booties, but at this point, it is what it is. If I remember correctly, Toxpex is not on this team, so I don't have to worry about hazards as much. So I'm more okay with letting Cryo Freeze go down. I do fire off a light screen just in case I'm able to fire something off, and we surprisingly see a swap. So we realize that my opponent probably doesn't want to let that thing get too chipped, so we do have to keep that in mind. And we see Fortress come out, which I'm honestly okay with. I do set up a light screen here, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I can break this thing sturdy, specifically for Salazzle later on, because then Slurdy is broken, Salazzle can just one-shot with an overheat, and it is very nice. We do fire off the Freeze Dry here, doing, quite honestly, more than I thought I would to Fortress, as we see a Volt Switch as well. But seeing that Fortress take damage and getting rid of the sturdy proc is very, very nice for Salazzle, so it cannot be forced, like, it can't be a switch in for Salazzle anymore, which is very nice. Salazzle is looking very, very solid in this matchup, especially if I can Toxic a couple of more things. I believe here, if I remember correctly, they send in Hisuian Goodra, no, it's Galarian Slowking, you can see back there, and you can tell by my opponent's nicknames, all of them are related to Bulky. Wow, Bulky, you're bulkiest? It's very funny. I have mad respect to that. We do end up sending in Salazzle, and I end up going for a Toxic here. Yep, I do go for a Toxic, thinking in case this thing wants to go for Chilly Reception, they could just hard swap it to Hisuian Goodra, which is exactly what they end up doing here, unfortunately. A very good play. I should have clicked Nasty Plot here. I should be playing a tad bit more aggressive, especially against this team. Honestly, in this turn, I should have clicked Overheat. That is really the button I should have clicked, but I didn't click it, so that is on me. I ended up swapping back into Nureyev, and I believe I took a Heavy Slam, if I remember correctly. I do take a Heavy Slam here, as I swapped back into Nureyev. Very, very unfortunate, but again, we're able to take hits for days, and now I'm expecting Mandibuzz to probably come in here. I can't remember if I actually stay in or not. I believe I end up doubling out, if I remember correctly. I actually don't think I do. We see Mandibuzz come back in, and I believe I just clicked Earth Power. Yeah, I just clicked Earth Power on the off chance that the Goodra wanted to stay in. Again, I'm not playing the best right now. My mid-game is a little bit rough right now. My mid-game is definitely iffy. The light screen wears off, which is very nice, which is probably why my opponent went for Heavy Slam over Thunderbolt or something like that. And now I have to think about, okay, what is this Mandibuzz going to do? Is it going to go for an attack? Is it going to go for an Iron Defense? I don't really know. I calc to see how much damage Groovy can do. Unfortunately, Terra Electric is not doing that much damage. I actually send in Dragapult. This is a very risky situation for me because I'm thinking maybe we could see an Iron Defense or something like that. That is what I'm predicting here. So I'm very interested to see what my opponent ends up going for. And we do see a foul play. This was a mistake on my end. This was absolutely a mistake. Again, I'm not doing well right now. I'm very heavily throwing my mid game away. I'm going for a Thunderbolt here. I absolutely every single time my switch in should have been King Gambit. I honestly, looking back at this footage, don't know why I swapped it to Cheesesteak. Again, I was expecting an Iron Defense, and the King Gambit would have heavily punished that, but again, King Gambit just punishes Mandibuzz anyways already with Taunt and Swords Dance, so this was very much a throw on my end. Absolutely a big throw, and I should not have done this, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. Choice Specs Dragapult is still going to do a decent amount of damage to something, and it will reveal that we are special. We are going to see Bulky, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is the Galarian Slowking. Yep, it is the Galarian Slowking, and I am believing, okay, this is quite possibly Assault Vested, especially after that damage. That's from a Choice Specs. It is absolutely Assault Vested, and we do get the Paralysis as well, which is fortunate, at least for now. I think it's fortunate. But granted, we can't have it Toxic, which may or may not come up later in the game. But now, I have to figure out what I want to switch in next. I'm so sorry, I don't know what's going on with me. I believe here I switch into King Gambit. Yes, I do switch into King Gambit, and I believe they just went for, like, a little thing. We do get Supreme Overlord, which is very nice. They just go for an Ice Beam. Thankfully, they don't get the freeze, which is very nice. And here, I believe I can just go for a free Taunt or Swords Dance or anything. I believe I went for Swords Dance. I did go for Swords Dance as Fortress switched in, and now I'm realizing, oh crap, I still can't 1v1 Fortress. Again, I'm not playing the best. I'm absolutely not playing the best right now. My mid game is very bad. I keep saying this over and over again, but like looking back at this footage, I'm definitely realizing that I'm playing pretty poorly right now. I am absolutely playing poorly, and thankfully I do make the correct prediction here, predicting that this Fortress is going to go for a body press. I end up switching into my Ghost type Cheesesteak, and we do see, in fact, that they did go for a body press. Now they have to fear that I have Flamethrower or Overheat or something like that. This just gives me a very free Shadow Ball, predicting the bulky switch in again. So this is a Stab Ghost type attack, hoping to see the bulky come in, and we end up seeing, unfortunately, we see Hisuian Goodra come in. So, while it does take a little bit of chip from Shadow Ball, this is absolutely not the situation I wanted. I should have fired off a Draco here. I should have fired off a Draco against the Mandibuzz in the first place, but again, it is what it is. At the very least, the Dragapult is getting damage off on something, so that is very good. And I need to save Dragapult so that way I can make sure I have a switch in for the Ghost typing. And here I'm really debating about sending in Nuria, but I know that brings in Mandibuzz for free, which is not the best for me, so I think I'm thinking about switching into something else. I do end up just switching into Nuria, if I remember correctly, though. We do see... Oh, no, I actually just let this thing go down. I let this thing go down again. Once again, I'm definitely throwing a little bit. I think I was hoping that Hisuian Goodra would die, and this was a decent exchange. Oh, yeah, I remember my logic at this point was me realizing, okay, Dragapult just cannot win this game. There are too many specially bulky Pokemon on my opponent's team. I'm just going to let it go down here. Unfortunately, it didn't die, but this does give me a very free switch into Groovy. I can just flip turn and just call it quits. I could also even Aqua Step if I really wanted to, but I didn't want to do that. I just ended up going for a flip turn to KO this thing and get my Moxie boost. So we do see the Hisuian Goodra go down to the flip turn, which is a kill for Quaquaval. And now we see here, I go into Salazzle here, so that way I can hopefully Toxic something now that the Hisuian Goodra is gone. But I forget that, unfortunately, the Galarian Slowking is still paralyzed, which is what comes in here. This was very much a throw on my part. I think here what I end up doing, because I have the Pataya Berry, I think I go for a Nasty Plot here, if I remember correctly. Again, I apologize that I'm bouncing back and forth, but I'm just trying to make as few edits as possible, so that's why I'm kind of going through this. We are going to see that I actually just click Overheat. Oh, wait, no, I remember now. I remember what happened here. I click Nasty Plot. First off, so I'm at +2 now, and then this guy gets paralyzed, and then I'm like, okay, this is a very good situation. This is a very free Overheat button. I have absolutely zero reason to not click Overheat here. And then I miss. So I'm like, okay, you know what? That is fair. That is absolutely fair. And then they go for a Psychic Noise, which we do guarantee live just because of the fact that we have the Pataya Berry, but it does do a lot of damage. And it is worth keeping in mind that if I had landed this Overheat, the next Overheat would have taken this Pokemon out, which would have been amazing in this situation. It is what it is, but at this point, I've already committed, and I have to fire off an Overheat. This, I believe, is a little bit of a throw on my end, how I played the Salazzle. Again, this mid-game from me was absolutely horrible, and that is something I do have to keep in mind. This endgame, or not endgame, this mid-game from me was definitely very rough to watch, looking back now. It is, again, it is what it is. Nothing much I can really do. We do fire off the Overheat, and we do a lot of damage to this thing, but again, once again revealing that this is, in fact, Assault Vest. And then they just go for a Psychic Noise, and that is very unfortunate. The good news about this is I do have a very free switch into King Gambit, and I can just Swords Dance up on literally anything. But you also have to keep in mind Fortress is still alive, and Fortress is probably going to be a switch here. So, and it's not looking great. The endgame right now is not looking that good. So I do end up switching in this thing, and they do end up swapping out, but they don't go into Fortress. They go into Wo-Chien. So, I believe here I went for a Throat Chop, if I remember correctly. Unfortunately, our attack is weakened, but that is fine. We do go for a Throat Chop here, so that was a very good read on my opponent, going for that attack. And then I realized that, honestly, my best bet at this point is to go for an Iron Head Flinch. So, and as you can tell just now, that did not happen. We deal a crap ton of damage, but it did not happen. At this point, I'm kind of realizing that I really needed, I needed that flinch in order to get me back in the game. I needed some luck to go my way, and unfortunately, I did not get that luck. I gambled on it, but I did not get it. And it is what it is. That's just on me. So I believe here I send in Quavel here. I have to pray to God that this is not a Ghost Terra. We Terra first as we go into Terra Electric Quavel, and then we see that it just dies. So I'm very glad not to see the Terra Ghost there, but then that also reveals that Skeledirge is a thing, and then I'm kind of starting to realize at this point, I kind of just lose to Skeledirge anyways. King Gambit was my best play into the Skeledirge because King Gambit can just 1v1 it with Throat Chop. Like King Gambit just hits Throat Chop on it for days, and it just dies. Unless it's running like Flamethrower or something like that, which they could be running Flamethrower. But again, it is what it is. At this point, I'm kind of realizing this now becomes more of a differential game. So we do see bulky, question mark, and that is Skeledirge. So now I'm realizing, okay, it's going to come down to a battle between weakening this thing down to where I can 1v1 it, because Quavel can still kind of win this, have a decent chance. It's very, very hard, especially because Mandibuzz is not weakened, this thing is not weakened, but I do realize that I have to weaken this thing down. So I end up going for a flip turn to deal a decent chunk of damage to this thing, as we do see that it is in fact Terra Fairy. I go into Nuria because it's the only other Pokemon I can go into. It's very, very sad, very, very unfortunate. But we do go into Nuria here, and then we see that it has the Leftovers ability, or not the Leftovers ability, and then we see Will-O-Wisp. Imagine if that Will-O-Wisp had missed, that would have been crazy, I'm not even gonna lie. That would have been amazing. That would have been absolutely amazing. Now, granted, Mandibuzz can just come in for free here. Again, this was a very big, unfortunate misgen on my end. Instead of Shadow Ball, I should have run like Thunderbolt on this set. It is what it is. I'm just going to skip through this Leftovers animation. Here, I believe I just go for a Psychic to deal a crap ton of damage to this thing. Unfortunately, though, it is still not in range. And also, it actually outsped me, unfortunately. It did actually outspeed me and go for a Torch Song. So, and in the battle, I was like, oh shoot, this thing has speed investment. No, it doesn't. Skeledirge outspeeds Weirdeer naturally. It is very sad. But yes, so we fire off a Psychic, doing a decent chunk of damage. Unfortunately, we do not get the Spadef drop that we need. And at this point, I just kind of have to pray that this thing will die to, another Psychic attack. Or that, at the very least, that I can live, so that way I can attack on the next turn with Quavel. Unfortunately, as you can tell, I did not live. Nureyev does go down here. If the burn had not happened, I think I would have lived. I think if they had missed their Will-O-Wisp, then I would have lived. Again, the hacks in this game definitely weren't horrible for me. I mean, getting that para on Galarian Slowking, and then getting the para again, but then I also missed my Overheat, so that kind of evened that out, and then obviously they landed the Will-O-Wisp, so there were some hacks involved in this game, I think, but ultimately nothing that would have cost me the game. My mid-game in this battle was very rough. Absolutely very rough middle game. There were several little mistakes that my opponent took advantage of that ended up resulting in a 4-0, as you can tell. And I'm going to go ahead and speed through this because what my opponent ended up doing, I believe, was they burned me, and then like they just kept spamming Slack Off. So Slack Off, yeah, they just kept spamming Slack Off. And then eventually, after some time passed, we do end up losing, unfortunately, to another Torch Song, which is a GG's. Very well played by my opponent. I did not play this game very well. I think I could have won this game? Abso-freaking-lutely. The fact that Gliscor was not there meant Salazzle just had a field day against my opponent. I just made my middle game plays really, really poorly. And my opponent, excellent prep, excellent job taking advantage of that weakness that I had in this battle, and then just coming out with a 4-0 victory for them. Do we bounce back? I'm not going to tell you. I already know the results of week 2 because I've already had week 2. But I will still say I am very excited about this team. And again, my team prep wasn't even the best for this game. I should not have run Mystic Water on the, whatchamacallit? Excuse me, sorry. I shouldn't have run Mystic Water. I should have run something else instead of that on Quavel. And again, I should have run something to at least hit Mandibuzz with Weirdeer. But it is what it is. You live and you learn, and we're definitely going to improve for next time. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you all enjoyed. Again, I apologize that this video was kind of a little bit all over the place. I just needed to get this video done before I left for my trip, because I also still have to pack and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to go and wrap it up here, though. Thank you all so much for watching. I really, really hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace out, mates!